Other Division agents will be able to access DZ South.
The Division 2 is Ubisoft's newest loot hunting open world game, and I have to admit, it surprised me. It's an extremely well-made, competent game that will make any Division fan happy with its small improvements. Yet it still retains the essence of the first game. That's going to be great for a lot of longtime fans, but to some, of course, that's going to be somewhat of a dull proposition. For me, it's really not a bad thing. Hey guys, welcome to part 1 of my Division 2 review, which is a buyer's guide to supply you with a spoiler-free analysis of the game after 30 hours played. Part 2, an official, longer, and more in-depth review, will be coming next week, discussing a little bit more of the endgame content, the future plans for the Division 2, and of course, more info on specializations. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button as we answer the question, should you buy the Division 2? Players step into the shoes of a silent agent of their creation, charged with helping the Division get the world back on the right track after the events of the first game. The story of the Division 2 is incredibly straightforward, and you won't have a problem keeping track of what's going on. The character creation is as expected and very solid. Mostly you'll be hoofing it around DC's various sectors, each housing various safe zones for fast travel, side missions, and of course, the all-you-can-eat bonanza of open-world activities on offer, which there are many. The basic structure is something you're going to be very familiar with if you've played The Division or basically any other open-world game by Ubisoft. It's got a few new things thrown into the mix, but it's very bog standard. Players have to get to level 30, of course, which can take anywhere from 25 hours to 35, depending on how much you want to stop and smell the roses. You can do anything you want to get there, but for the most part you'll be completing a dozen or so main missions, and countless other side ones and various other things, including fighting for control points and finding settlements, completing bounties, finding caches of SHD to upgrade your perks, and doing strongholds a little later on. Most of it is pretty fun, and some of it, like radio comm events, are pretty throwaway. It's a mixed bag here. You take the good with the bad, of course, in an open world game. There's a lot of quantity here, and I think about 30% was walking around, 5% was cutscenes and story, 15% for inventory management, crafting and chilling in safe areas, probably 50% for combat. Combat in Division 2 is exactly what you'd expect if you've been a Division fan. It's pretty damn similar to the original, but with a few new things added in and a revamp of how enemies are designed and how environments work with cover. Most missions are designed into multi-stage wave-based fights, and main missions can last up to 30 or 40 minutes actually. You'll rescue people and important political figures, you'll fight off some gangs in the game, you'll shut down malicious activity, save important resources like water, and even break into a building to steal an important, historical United States of America document. No matter the objective, it's really all about the gameplay, and this game does focus on the gameplay. No matter what you do in a Division 2, it's very light on exposition or actual physical storytelling, outside of just audio voiceovers or simple interactables within each scenario. The story of the Division 2 is presented so lightly and intermittently that most of the time I honestly couldn't remember what I was doing besides fighting off 100 dudes. It's serviceable stuff, but I was hoping for a more compelling narrative because it's really not here. Players use a combination of 2 primary weapons and 2 special skills while playing the Division 2. Provides a nice toolkit to personalize how you want to play, and all the skills are really cool actually. You can have a drone fight or heal for you. You can deploy a shield, I recommend this one. Throw out a flamethrower turret, scan enemies with pulse, among others. Like weapons, these skills can be modded as well. Mods you'll find up in the open world or craft yourself. The entire inventory/ability and gear system in a Division 2 is actually really great, especially after playing the Anthem. Most of the time you are showered with loot, which can be annoying at times for lazy folks who can't be bothered with inventory management, and it could also discount the joy of finding a new weapon when after every mission you're just straight up given an upgrade. But I'd rather have too much loot than not enough. The good thing is, there's a lot of quality of life features in the Division 2, and you can break down gear in bulk, and inventory management really becomes painless once you get accustomed to this UI, which can take a few hours though. Felt clunky for a while, but now it's great. I actually really enjoyed the gameplay loop of the Division 2, which is mixing up weapons and skills on cooldown while shooting from cover and flanking enemies that get too close. It really works well with a full group and helps promote a sense of loadout building. My problem with the gameplay overall is that I wish the guns had more feedback. Indoors, they feel great, but outdoors, it's kind of blasé. Often guns feel a little bit weak for the carnage they put out. This was something that was present in the Division 1, and it could have been improved, but it just wasn't. I also think they could have improved the variety of gameplay in terms of how you complete missions. Most missions play out basically the same. Enter a mission area, grab some cover, and kill a few waves of enemies. Run a minute forward, climb a few staircases, or scurry up a zipline to get to the next area, then repeat everything I just said 3 or 4 times while occasionally hearing some sort of audio comm instructions that guide you through whatever environment you're in, and basically there's your main mission. The gameplay itself makes it enjoyable, but that doesn't mean there couldn't have been more variety to what players do to supplement it. I can tell they wanted to do more, because there were moments, very interesting moments during certain side missions where they tried to do something really interesting, such as suffocate you with contamination or play with the idea of hallucination. These moments don't last long, and the game quickly though reverts back to its bread and butter state of wave-based enemy encounters. What I did like about the gameplay though was that Ubisoft thankfully let go of the spongy enemies from the first game. Now it's replaced by an armor system. Players can target specific areas of armor to chunk them down faster, it blows off, then you can nuke down the enemy. Thankfully it works a lot better. I'll say that this is as close to a good system as a looter shooter can get, at least in terms of what Ubisoft is trying to do, balancing HP with a multiplayer party, without making it too easy or too much of a freaking long-winded nightmare. So overall, the balance of enemies and HP in this game is pretty solid. Now let's talk about the world of The Division 2. The world of DC is actually really beautiful in its beaten up state. Some sectors are really green, others overtaken by nature or succumbed to more practical survival needs. Often the streets are packed with broken down cars, with windows blown out, barriers to keep people out, and rotten, overflowing trash cans and wastes. It really speaks of a city, a civilization, a people that have just gone to shit. I was worried that the vibe of The Division 2, during the beta at least, would be a little bit too bright and cheery, but this game has a lot of variety to how they do weather, environmental effects, and time of day per zone, which I wasn't aware when I played the beta. The detail of The Division 2 is actually quite strong, and I was impressed by the lighting, the texture work, and the overall density of the world. You can shoot the window of a car and watch the glass crumble, or from a grocery store front door. You can shoot water and watch the mini waves ripple as they should, or cap a bottle and watch it fall down naturally. Sometimes though it's inconsistent, such as actual wind shields, which can be stenciled with bullet holes but the glass doesn't break. I assume this has cover implications, and that was the furthest they were willing to go. So overall the game has a lot of nice touches and it looks beautiful, but there is some inconsistency there. The shadow work and the lighting are extremely well done as well. The lighting in particular is used in combination with other elements like fog, rain, or sometimes dew to create some of the game's more unique environments. It comes at a cost though. Unfortunately, The Division 2 is actually quite hot and cold in terms of performance. While it runs great indoors, some of the outdoor locales can tank the frame rate tremendously even on my GTX 1080 Ti. At ultra settings, I was getting an average frame rate of 110, yet that would dip down sometimes to under 50 in these locations. It's during these moments of frame drops that hitching or pausing would occur as well, especially during transitionary movements. You're also going to get your assortment of Ubisoft bugs and glitches here, of course. From invisible walls and getting stuck on terrain that's not there, to falling through an object and having to dump a mission and restart the game entirely.
They commandeered it for their new supply depot. I've heard it was a refugee camp.
Or shooting invisible guns. The game also hard crashed on me 3 times, and I was disconnected from Uplay twice for just unknown technical or server issues. These issues weren't a deal breaker, but they were pretty goddamn annoying. What I loved about The Division 2 though was that the Dark Zone and optional PvP content was so great. Players can queue up for various PvP game modes anywhere in the world called conflicts. Players have a unique conflict level that goes up by playing these modes and get rewarded with loot for doing so. The Division 2 lends itself well to small-scale PvP, and I had a great time with conflicts, especially skirmish. But the Dark Zone is really where I felt the game open up. The Dark Zone is so much fun. It allows players to fight while extracting contaminated loot and helicopters. Other players can run up on them and try to steal it. It is such a simple concept, yet it has far-reaching impacts on how you play the game. You're initially neutral, yet if you want to, you can activate a rogue state and just go around killing other players and try to steal their loot in the Dark Zone. But once you do that, you essentially become a bounty for other players. The tension derived from this simple game of cat and mouse is really exciting. This gets taken to an extreme when inside occupied dark zones, which temporarily turn friendly fire for all agents on. I'm really hoping that hackers don't plague this awesome game mode as they did in The Division 1. All Dark Zone content is optional though. You can play the game without it if you want. When players hit level 30, the story concludes and they can choose a specialization, be it a sniper, a demolition expert, or the survivalist. You're not locked into any one in particular, and you can try them all out. You can also craft to your heart's content to up your gear score and recalibrate weapons by dumping modifiers from other guns into the one you want, obviously destroying the first gun by doing so. One of the problems of the first game was a clear lack of endgame content, and there's certainly more to do in The Division 2, including strongholds, world events, invaded missions, PT and bounty missions, and 8-man raids coming to the game post-launch. It's a decent amount of content, not a tremendous amount, but I would say that there is a lot more to do here than in the first game. The Division 2 is a cross between a shooting game and an RPG, and at times it's an addictive and satisfying game. Sometimes it gets repetitive and quite boring, and watching another wave of enemies come towards you is not the most exciting thing in the world. It's sad that a lot of the content in The Division 2 does blend together, but the AI does a good job testing players, and I go on a limb and say that The Division 2 is actually really challenging for the average gamer. Enemies will flank the hell out of you and one-shot you in the game's harder difficulties, so you gotta play smart and continually move as you fight. So combining that aspect with the terrific gameplay and the skill-based setups, it's really engaging. I was surprised by The Division 2. It held my attention all the way up to the end, even with its forgettable story and deluge of wave-based encounters. Oh, and the absolutely awful voice acting and lip syncing.
If you hadn't have shown up when you did, I'll head back as soon as the escort team arrives.
Hi, I'm Emma. I've been recruited to help out at your base of operations with recalibrating and fine-tuning equipment. Glad to be working with you.
Thankfully, the animations are better in cutscenes, but the voice acting is just as bad. Oh, and your character never speaks. So if you like a silent protagonist, this is the game for you. Just be prepared for some really awkward moments. I can definitely recommend this game for fans of the original Division. The gameplay is really fun, the world is well realized, and the Dark Zone is a really enticing gameplay concept. It retains the same fundamentals of the first game, while adding in splashes and sprinkles of new ideas and small changes. It's not a huge departure from the first game, so if you didn't like The Division 1, then you should probably stay away from this one or maybe wait for a sale. I was pleasantly surprised, had a lot of fun with the game. I wasn't expecting anything like drastically different from the first game, and I did not receive anything drastically different. I think that's the approach you need to go in when you buy a game like this. I feel like The Division 2 is the game Ubisoft wanted to make the first time around, with just these small changes, small fixes, small tweaks to the formula to kind of get it to the vision that they initially sought out for. The Division 1 was an ambitious game, and I think this does justice to that original vision by making it better. I think that was the goal here. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to thumbs it up. This was just the first video, though. There's going to be an official review for The Division 2 coming to the channel a week or two once I've had a little bit more time with the game. So take care, ladies and gents. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you then.